What's up, guys, and welcome to my Underdog Best Ball show. I'm going to be taking a look at some of the teams that are undervalued right now and might be going a little bit under the radar. Some teams that I think are going to outperform based on their schedules and based off of their ADP. So I'm going to get into that right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching the Underdog Best Ball show. Going to be doing a draft later on in the show, but first I want to go over, based on some of the research and the numbers that I've been looking at, some of these teams that are undervalued based on their schedules and based on their ADPs. It's going to be a good opportunity for us to draft some of these easier to stack teams later in the drafts and differentiate ourselves and stack some of these teams that I think are going to outperform. Show is sponsored by Underdog. Use the promo code SEEK when you sign up for a new account. SEEK. That's going to get you up to $1,000. That's a 50% deposit match up to $1,000 on your first deposit. So you're going to want to take advantage of that. You get $1,000 free money. You want to definitely take advantage of that so you can draft a lot of these best ball teams and play in some of these other contests. Right now, Underdog has a contest going on called Ladders for the NBA Finals, and it's a cool contest where you can take advantage of players that you think are going to go off on a particular night. It's playoff season, and that means big-time players are going to be having legendary nights. And to celebrate, Underdog just released a new original game called Ladders, where their big nights could be your big payouts. Playing is easy. Just select 3 to 5 players you think will go off. As every player hits a higher rung, your payout will jump up. If they all reach the highest rung, you'll be winning 100 times your money. So try out Ladders right now. It's only available on Underdog, and you want to take advantage of these contests that Underdog is running because they always have the customer in mind when they're creating these new contests, and it's always fun to try these new games out, especially with Best Ball for me. And in Best Ball Mania, like, the teams that I want to take a look at for this particular show are going to be the undervalued teams. I think that we're seeing with the schedule release, with free agency, with the coaching changes, just a bunch of factors that might play a role in some of these teams outperforming, like where their ADP is. And I think the first team that I'd want to look at is Carolina. Carolina has a pretty good playoff situation. Playoffs in best ball, we're looking at weeks 15, 16, and 17. To give you an idea, they are facing off in week 15 against the Saints. They're facing off against Tampa Bay in week 16, and then Seattle in week 17. They'd be playing in Seattle in week 17, in Tampa Bay in week 16, and actually, I'm sorry, they're playing in Carolina in week 16, in Carolina in week 17, at New Orleans in week 15. So that's a dome game. And then 2 games really playing in Carolina. We're not going to have as much concern about the weather as we would if they were playing up north somewhere. So Carolina has a pretty good playoff situation. They have a good passing game situation as far as their schedule goes. Strength of schedule, they are the 7th easiest schedule on the projected strength of schedule by Warren Sharp, which we like to see that. As far as their passing game, the opponents that they are facing off against allowed 269 fantasy points to quarterbacks last season, and that is good for a top 10 situation as far as opponents' passing game points allowed. And their opponents allowed 418.4 fantasy points to wide receivers. Now that's underdog scoring, so it's not PPR. It's a half point PPR, I believe, is what Underdog does for their receivers. So good passing game situation for Carolina. Makes me like to stack the Carolina passing game. Bryce Young looked good towards the end of last season. Definitely love to see that. He had some weapons. Pretty decent with Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is getting a little bit old now, but he's got other weapons in Jatavian Sanders, and they drafted Tet McMillan on top of it, so to give him another weapon there. And Coker was another good surprise. They also have Xavier Legette. I'm not giving up on Xavier Legette, but if you look at his ADP has been pretty affordable. So the Carolina Panthers just overall are a good team to stack. Now, as far as the running back situation, Chuba Hubbard is in a good spot. The rookie that they drafted, Jonathan Brooks, last year is out, I believe, for the season. He tore his ACL at the end of last season. Of course, he was just coming off of a torn ACL. I believe it was a torn ACL that he tore last season. But he's regardless, he's injured with a I think a season-ending injury. I think he got put on the injured reserve in a spot where he's unable to return this season. So the Chuba Hubbard situation, the opponents are allowing 20 fantasy points a game to running backs. So I really like Chuba Hubbard there too. And he's affordable as well. You get him in the 5th or 6th round, I believe, right now currently. So good situation there with Carolina. Under the radar team, we can get a good value on them. Another under the radar team is the Raiders. The Raiders, similar situation. They are facing off against opponents that allowed top 10 in fantasy points to quarterbacks and also to wide receivers. Their opponents allowed 276 fantasy points a game to quarterbacks and 432 to wide receivers. They're also in a good situation for running back, with their opponents allowing 22.6 point game. So as far as their playoff situation, I don't like their situation as much as I liked the Panthers. They do face Philly in Week 15, which is a tough matchup against the defense that's really good, but also we may have some weather concerns in Week 15. They're facing off against Houston in Houston, which is good. They're in a dome at least there, and they are facing off against the Giants in Week 17, which is good, and they are going to be playing at home in a dome for that one. So pretty good playoff schedule. Not as good as the Panthers, at least in my opinion. As far as their strength of schedule, they're facing the 18th easiest, so they're not a very good. They're kind of middling there with their strength of schedule, but that could be good for the passing game if they're having to play from behind a lot. So good situation there with the Raiders. Definitely like that. Let's see. Take a look and see one more team here. I talked about them in my last show. You want to check that out. There were teams that I was targeting, must-stack teams for the Underdog show that I did the other day. You can find it on my YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make sure to hit the like button on this video. Help me out with getting these views. The Rams are another team that I like. They have 9 dome games. By the way, as far as Vegas, they have 11 dome games. Carolina only has 3 dome games, but they do play in a lot of nice weather situations, regardless, warmer weather climates. With the Rams, they have the 20th easiest strengths of schedule, so they're right there in the middle, towards the bottom 10 as far as ease of the schedule. Their opponents have allowed 289.3 fantasy points a game to quarterbacks and 446.9 fantasy points to wide receivers. So pretty good passing game schedule. Those are both in the the top 10 for potential matchups for the Rams. Their opponents also allowed 18.7 fantasy points a game to the running back position. Of course, the Rams added Devontae Adams, so that's going to be a good situation for Stafford. He gets another reliable weapon there. Cooper Kupp is out. He's in Seattle now, but Cooper Kupp looked like he was on his last legs in the Rams anyways last season. He really wasn't being used last year, and now he's on Seattle. So hopefully he comes back with Seattle. But for now, we get Devontae Adams to join Puka Nacua in the for the Rams. So let's go ahead and do a draft here. I want to do a draft for the, let's see here, Best Ball Mania contest. Going to share my screen real quick. Let's see here. All right. So we're looking at the Best Ball Mania contest. Again, use the promo code SEEK, SEEK, to get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Going to go with 30 seconds per pick. And you know what? Let's stick with 30 seconds. I haven't done a lot of Best Ball Mania drafting. I've been doing mainly the cheaper contests. And I typically do that until I feel confident with, with how everything's shaking out and how the rankings that I have are, and just becoming more familiar with the players and the teams that I want to draft. Let's see. We got about 4 more to go. Reminder, play that ladders contest for these NBA finals. You're going to want to take advantage of that. Going to give you an opportunity. It's kind of like a pick 'em. You're picking 3 guys that you think are going to go off, and the bigger nights they have, the more money you can make, and you can get up to 100 times your investment in that game. So one of the things that I've noticed this season, I think people are overreacting to the running back situation from last year, or not overreacting, but they're reacting to it. Last year, if you watched my shows, I was high on running backs and drafting running backs early. This season, I'm noticing a lot of the running backs obviously are climbing the rankings because they had a big season last year, and that's going to cause me to pivot in the opposite direction and look for value in later rounds for running backs and take advantage of the wide receivers that are being neglected. The draft, the first round, like I don't mind where I draft really in the first round this season. It seems like it's pretty stacked on the back end. I talked about that in my previous show. The strength of the back end of this draft. You got guys like let's see here. From an ADP standpoint, we're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, who I love this season, Nico Collins. I also love him. I like Drake London. I like Malik Neighbors. You get all these wide receivers towards the back end. A lot of that. You got Saquon jumping into the first round. We got Jahmyr Gibbs jumping into the first round. Again, like I'm not super high on early running backs. Saquon Barkley, typically going second in drafts. I think that's way too expensive. Barkley is in, I believe, his age 28 season. These running backs have a drop off after their age 27 season. On top of that, he had something like 400 touches last year, or something crazy. Let's take a look real quick. So he had 345 rush attempts on top of 33 receptions. So he's pushing 400 touches last year. Never like to see that with a running back, especially an aged one. So I do believe it'll be more of a drop-off season. I think this is going to be more of a Hurts season for the Eagles rather than a Saquon Barkley season. So I'm pushing him further down my rankings. I'll take him if he falls at a value, but I would prefer Bijan Robinson over Saquon Barkley this season. And Jahmyr Gibbs, I would probably even take Jahmyr Gibbs over Saquon too. But like just for the sake of my current rankings, I got Saquon ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, so we're looking at only need one more person to join this. Um, take a look at my shorts feed. I've been teaming up with a partner of mine, and he's been providing some NBA bets. We had a few recent with BetMGM. Had a special offer with BetMGM. I put up a Dabble video today. Dabble's doing a um, pretty good free $25 bonus. You don't even have to make a deposit to get that. So if you sign up for a Dabble account using the promo code HEATSEEKER, that's HEATSEEKR, just like the name of the brand here. Just use HeatSeeker, and they're going to give you a $25 deposit. Let's see. Okay, so draft is starting. Looks like I am in 9th place. As I mentioned, I don't mind 9th place this season. That's going to get me, some pretty good receiving options in my first two rounds. And this year in general, I feel like a lot of the teams that I like are pretty affordable. So I don't mind like drafting later in these drafts. Hopefully their ADP doesn't really catch up to the potential that I think that they have, and I'll be able to be drafting them throughout most of the season. Just a heads up too, I also am using the solver. This is there was a lot of controversy recently about the solver, and so of course I figured I would give it a try, and you'll see what it's about. So you guys will be able to see what it's about with me while I'm drafting on this today. All right. So just got to find my draft. I always draft on my phone. I'm not a big fan of drafting on the desktop. It's coming up on me. CeeDee Lamb just went. Malik Neighbors just went. Of course, my app is crashing on me right now. Worst case, I'll just draft it on this desktop here. All right, Best Ball Mania. All right, so it's on me. I like Puka Nacua. I like Brian Thomas. I like Drake London. Going to go with Puka Nacua here. As I mentioned, I like the Rams. This is going to help me out potentially getting a decent Rams stack. Brian Thomas, ADP of 15, or no, what was his ADP? Let's see. Brian Thomas's ADP is 12.8, so he went a little bit early in this one. I would have liked to see him fall to me, but that would have been a little bit of a stretch because there's no reason for him to drop in these drafts. Nico Collins, Drake London, two guys that I like, and I'm looking at to hopefully fall to me. Drake London in particular, I'd love to see him fall to me at pick 16. His ADP is 15.4. Get rid of this. All right, guys. So it's coming back to me. Derrick Henry just got drafted. I like going receivers in the first couple rounds here. But if the receivers I like are gone, then I'm going to, I like Bucky Irving in the second round a lot. All right, so A.J. Brown and Ladd McConkey are the guys that I'm considering here. If I wanted to go with, let's see, I think Philly probably has the better passing matchups this season, so I'm going to go with A.J. Brown there. They're middling as far as their passing matchups, but as I mentioned, I do believe that Saquon is not going to have as big a year this season. So I think that A.J. Brown is a pretty good pick, and he's fallen pretty far compared to past seasons. You know, he's going top 10 last year, and now he's at about pick 17. I think a lot of people are looking at his performance last year, um, and wondering if there are issues with him and the Eagles, which, you know, like I not completely comfortable with him, but given that situation, I don't mind drafting him in the second round with Drake London and some of my favorite receivers being off the board already. All right, it's coming up on me in 9 picks. Jonathan Taylor, Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice looks like he's climbing up pretty significantly. He was going much later, just a week ago or so. He's looked good in camp, and he's been getting talked up a lot by some of these fantasy podcasts. So not surprised to see him starting to climb up. If I was going for a running back in the next round, my next guy would be Chase Brown, who I want, but I would rather go with Devontae Adams to help out with my Rams stack. He is ADP of 31.5. My next draft will be 33, so it's kind of pushing it. Just hoping that he falls to me, basically. Garrett Wilson off the board. He's got Justin Fields throwing to him this year. Terry McLaurin. Getting a little bit skittish with Terry McLaurin. I don't like that he is, kind of heading in the holdout direction right now. He's not happy with his contract negotiations. There goes Devontae Adams. That sucks. Tyreek Hill's another guy that is a good value, it seems like, this year. All right, so it falls to me. I don't get the receivers that I want, but I do like Chase Brown. Chase Brown in that potent Cincinnati offense. So get Chase Brown on my hero RB type of build. Let's see. Chase Brown, opponents for Cincinnati are allowing 22.1 fantasy points a game. So that puts Chase Brown in a potential top 10 situation. As far as matchups. All right, so my next pick is pick 40. Josh Allen is still on the board, which is interesting. If he falls to me, like, I will probably take Josh Allen here. If not, I don't mind DK Metcalf now that we've got confirmation that Aaron Rodgers is joining the team. There goes Josh Allen. Okay, it comes up on me. So, yeah, DK Metcalf is a guy that I'm looking at. Potentially George Pickens. I don't mind George Pickens. Gonna go with Metcalf here, though. Worthy would have been another pick, but I just think with all the receivers in Kansas City right now, it's kind of a crowded situation. They got Hollywood Brown, they got Xavier Worthy, they got Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce's still there in the mix. So just a little too crowded to be drafting Xavier Worthy that early, I think. So I'm up in 13 picks. Right now I'm looking at Chase Brown, Puka Nacua, AJ Brown, and DK Metcalf. So I think my receivers are looking solid. I like Chase Brown, as I mentioned. Pickens is the guy that I got on my eye on right now, but I don't think he's going to last to me. He's at 52.7 ADP, and my next pick is going to be 57. So I don't think he's going to last to me. Again, guys, hit that like button. Help me out there. Help me out with some of these views. And subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. It probably won't hit until the NFL season starts. I'm aiming for around 3,000 by the end of the NFL season. So any subscribes helps me out with getting to that goal. I'm at 1,600 now. So I think once NFL season starts, that's where your subscribers really start to kick in. But as many as I can get in this off season in the summer, I would definitely appreciate the help with that. All right, so I'm pick 57. Looks like a lot of running backs are starting to stack up here. All right, so it's back on me. I like Olave, I think, the best out of these options. I'm trying to think as far as my stack potential. I'm going to go with Olave on this pick because I do believe that that he's going to come back with a decent season. As I mentioned, I believe that is their week 17 opponent for Carolina. Nope, that's not their opponent. Their opponent is Seattle. So if I'm going to try to get one of these value teams later on in this draft, I want to start thinking about that now. San Francisco is another team that I like this season. They're getting very inexpensive. Pearsall is 74 ADP. Brandon Ayuk is 83 ADP. And I do think that San Francisco has the easiest schedule this year as far as Warren Sharp's strength of schedule. I'm going to go ahead and go for a San Francisco stack here. I'm going to grab Ricky Pearsall. I know it's early, but I'm going to try to double stack Brock Purdy with Pearsall and Ayuk. And I really, in that situation, I needed to get one of those guys now for me to be able to pull that off. I also wouldn't have minded going with a New England stack if I wanted to get Travion Henderson. Here, let's go take a look at this. This view here. Travion Henderson, I could have drafted him and then try to get Diggs for my next pick. And then go with Drake May, because I do like Drake May a lot this season. There are other teams that I like stacking better. But, I'm just kind of playing around right now with getting a feel for teams that I can stack. If I want to stack San Francisco like I do, I had to take one of those guys a little bit early, just given where I am in the draft. So my next pick is going to be 81. Ayuk is going ADP of 83. So we'll see if he makes it to me. The problem with experimenting too, when you're playing the $25 entries is you can burn through cash quick, which is why I like to play around more with the $5 ones and kind of mold my rankings around that. Stephon Diggs is a receiver with a higher ADP than Brandon Ayuk, so hopefully he would get picked before Ayuk. But we'll see how it shakes out here. I'm 2 picks away. Somebody just took Diggs. This guy has 3 running backs, so he might take Ayuk. Nope, he left them for me. All right, good. So I got 1 running back. I got 6 receivers. Really time to focus on running backs here. We got Aaron Jones, who's still in a pretty good. You got Tony Pollard, who I don't mind. Got a lot of value here with these running backs. Let's see where Brock Purdy is 108 for his ADP. So I can take the chance of drafting one of these running backs now and then shooting for Brock Purdy in the next round. All right, so there goes Aaron Jones. We got Tony Pollard. I don't mind Swift here either, with Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator there. Other options there would be, I'm not a big fan of Jalen Warren. Brian Robinson's not bad. All right, I'm going to go with Swift here and take my chances and just hope that they don't sign a veteran running back in Chicago. Going to put Brock Purdy in my queue. Baker Mayfield, another guy that I like. I like Tampa Bay this year. I like pretty much anyone in the NFC South. Atlanta, I like. I mentioned that in my last show. Carolina is the undervalued team that I'm targeting. New Orleans, I'm not a big fan of New Orleans, but they're going to be playing in a bunch of games where, they're probably going to be playing from behind. So I like their receiving options, and just got to hope that the rookie quarterback has some kind of competence there. Let's see what the solver is telling me to do. I know what I want to do. I want to draft Brock Purdy next, and they got me drafting Brock Purdy next. So good direction there by it. This also helps you get an idea of, like if this tool is any good. I'm a fan of the established run guys I worked with, Levitan and Silva, back when I was at Roto Grinders. Good guys, and it's cool to see what they've done with established the run, and I definitely trust those guys with rankings and with their the tools that they do. So get to see them in action here. All right, Brock Purdy coming up pretty soon on my pick. Well, not too soon. It's about 9 picks away. But we still got Justin Fields on the board, Caleb Williams. All those guys are going before. Well, there goes Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I think he's a guy that's going to climb up the rankings. He reminds me kind of one of those typical, like, high output fantasy quarterbacks that's going in the 10th round or later that you can draft almost in every draft. And if he has a good potential to go off, I really like drafting Justin Fields this year. All right, I'm up in 3 picks, and Purdy is still on the board for me. See who this guy drafts next. Travis Kelce. All right, so we get Brock Purdy here. That gives us the Purdy to Pearsall and Ayuk stack. Really like that. I think my next pick, probably be looking for. I don't mind Najee Harris this season. He went to the Chargers, and then they went ahead and drafted spent a high pick on first round pick, I believe, on a rookie running back, Marion Hampton, I believe. And I think the consensus is that he's going to be taking the bulk of the load, but I don't think that they signed Najee Harris just to have him be useless. So I'm going to go ahead and get Najee Harris. At the very least, I think he'll give us some good points in the beginning half of the season. But I'm at a point now where I need to start, thinking of some of this running back zero RB type of candidates or late round running back type of candidates, because I do have a pretty decent receiver room built up right now. I got Puka Nakua, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, Ricky Pearsall, and Brandon Ayuk. Now, San Francisco is week 17 against DeAndre Swift. So I got a good situation there by having DeAndre Swift on my team as well. That ended up working out for my week 17 situation. You can see Tyrone Tracy is what the solver is recommending to me with my next pick, which I don't mind doing that. But I want to try to get a good tight end with my next pick, or try to find some kind of a value in a quarterback. I would have loved to draft Michael Penix. Penix is going at ADP of 147. I think he's going to have a big year this year again with the NFC South. I like drafting those passing games, especially. We're talking about warmer weather. We're talking about New Orleans and Atlanta are both in domes on top of it, so we're got good situations all around with drafting those NFC South teams. They got good schedules this year. And just trying to get a look at the strength of schedules with Carolina. They got the 7th strongest strength of schedule. Atlanta has the 4th strongest strength of schedule. Go to New Orleans, has the 3rd strongest. They all got good schedules, and they're just all in really good situations. All right, so I'm going to go with David Njoku here. Unless I can see somebody better. Yeah, for pick 130, Njoku or Tyler Warren. I'm going to go with Njoku. I just think that he's going to be a big focus of the passing game there. Let's look at our quarterback situation. I may try to draft Michael Penix and then just draft Kyle Pitts to give us a mini stack there. And I think that also gives us a week 17 matchup. I hate drafting Penix without having a stack there for Penix, but they are facing the Rams in week 17. Somebody just took Penix, of course. So let's go with Tyler Warren. So that way I got both of those quarterbacks I was in. Now, you know what? I'm gonna stick with Pitts. Let's see. All right, I'm just gonna go with Warren there. Christian Kirk, I wouldn't have minded Christian Kirk. Tajay Spears for running back, I wouldn't have minded Tajay Spears either. I was just had a mental freeze there when I was drafting that. Let's see. As far as those value teams, I can start looking at Carolina. Well, I should have started looking at them earlier. But as I said, I'm trying to get still trying to get a feel for where these teams are getting drafted. If I go with Carolina, I can still get Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, Jatavian Sanders, and Bryce Young. So I do like getting that stack there. Let's take a look at what the finder is telling me, or the solver is telling me about my my picks. So I got Brock Purdy with Pearsall and Ayuk. I got them matched up with DeAndre Swift. As far as my Week 17 situation, I got DK Metcalf against David Njoku in week 17 as well. Added Tyler Warren, maybe some upside. Indy has not really targeted tight ends the last few years, but they haven't had a pick like Tyler Warren. I believe he was a first-round pick. So they're definitely going to intend to use him. Matthew Stafford, I could go with for my my backup quarterback. If I want to go with 3, which I do, I like Bryce Young too, but I can't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to grab him. Let's see. I'm going to go with Jalen McMillan, unless I have a good running back option. Tank Bigsby is an option. I'm not that high on Tank Bigsby. I like Will Shipley better. He's another running back that's coming up pretty soon here. So I'm going to hold off on running back here. I'm going to try to get Jalen McMillan. I think them drafting Mika Igbukah is going way too. People are way too freaked out about that. I think that when you run into these situations where a quarterback has a good rapport with a receiver like McMillan did, they're not just going to drop McMillan. McMillan was a stud at the end of the season, and you got a rookie coming in. A rookie's not automatically going to get his spot. I think McMillan is going to continue to have good opportunities, so I'm going to stick with him. Pat Freiermuth, I like him with Rodgers. The Rodgers signing with Pittsburgh news is big for Freiermuth because he's been neglected with bad quarterback play recently. All right, so I'm grabbing Matthew Stafford here. I got Stafford to Puka for my Los Angeles stack. And then, of course, I got Purdy with Pearsall and Ayuk. So let's see what we got here for the Rams week 17. So they got Atlanta in week 17. So again, that's where it would have been perfect to stack Atlanta. I don't think Kyle Pitts is on the board anymore. No, he's gone. So I got to kind of think through who I want to grab here. Freiermuth, I don't mind doing drafting a guy like Freiermuth, giving me 3 tight ends because I want either 3 tight ends or 3 quarterbacks. And the quarterbacks I have left, I'm looking at Cam Ward, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, guys like that. I would prefer to go with we lost Bryce Young and Tua ended up going. We got Stafford. Yeah, so I think I prefer to go 3 tight ends here. Austin Eckler. I don't mind drafting Austin Eckler. I still think that he's going to get decent usage in Washington. Jalen Noel is a wide receiver option, but I'm pretty stacked on wide receivers right now. I want to focus on getting those positions that I need to fill. I'm going to put Austin Eckler and Pat Freiermuth in my queue. If I do, if I wanted to do 3 receivers or 3 quarterbacks, I think Rodgers does make sense since they got DK Metcalf, and I'm expecting Metcalf to go off. That would give me another stack with Metcalf, Rodgers, and we know that Rodgers can go off in bad weather games towards the end of the season too. I just don't want to grab 2 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks. So let's look at who we got. Shipley. Yeah, we're now in Shipley range. So let me grab. I'm going to grab Shipley here. Give myself another running back. And as I mentioned, I do think that Philly is going to, be in a situation where Saquon's pretty old. We don't know what's going to happen this season after a huge workload. He's also on the Madden cover, so that's never a good sign for one of these guys coming off a big year. So Shipley, I'm going with Shipley and hoping that he gets his opportunities this season. All right. So I might just go with Aaron Rodgers and go with the 3 quarterbacks here. It doesn't look like he's officially with Pittsburgh yet, but I think the writing's on the wall there. I can also start looking at like maybe some other Pittsburgh value here. Calvin Austin, he was looking pretty good in spots. Roman Wilson, was a pretty good prospect. So those are 2 guys right there. I can throw in my queue to help me out with my my Pittsburgh stack. Didn't quite get the any of the value teams that I wanted, but I think the Pittsburgh stack is interesting. And my quarterback situation, I'm talking about 3 pocket passers with Brock Purdy, Stafford, and Rodgers. Purdy's a little bit mobile, but with Stafford and Rodgers, they're pocket passers. I do think that I have some upside here with my quarterback position. I went with late round quarterbacks. But you see how it helped out the rest of my team. I got Chase Brown, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, and Will Shipley. But my receivers are pretty stacked. I got Puka Nacua, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, Ricky Pearsall, and Brandon Ayuk, Jalen McMillan. And then I got David Njoku and Tyler Warren as my tight ends. So I feel like it's a pretty good team so far. And now I'm going to try to wrap it up by getting some of these Pittsburgh receivers who will help me out with making the picks in those last 2 rounds a lot easier. Kendre Miller is also on the board still. I may pick him with my next pick because I do believe that he's going to get his opportunities. Blake Corum is on the board too for Los Angeles. But Kendre Miller gives me a Saints guy to go with Olave. And I do need another receiver for sure. I mean, running back for sure. So let's take a look at Miller here. Miller or Corum. I'm going to go with Corum. We saw the fumbling issues that Kyron Williams had last season. This helps out with my Rams stack. If something happens where Corum ends up getting a decent workload this season, then I'll be set up pretty good there. The other running back, the rookie running back for the Rams is off the board already. He's an interesting pick too if you don't want to go with Corum. I like Elijah Mitchell. He's another interesting running back. I think though I'm gonna stick with Calvin Austin. He did show some flashes. He got 58 targets last year with some crappy quarterbacks. He ended up with 548 yards. He looked good in spots last year. So I'm gonna stick with him. If he's off the board, then I will go with Kendre Miller and just give myself an extra running back. Right now, I have 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 7 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. So I'm up in 2 picks. Again, use that promo code SEEK, SEEK, on Underdog when signing up for a new account. They're going to give you a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Check out their ladders promotion for the NBA Finals. You want to take advantage of that with some of this deposit bonus you're going to get. You can win up to 100 times your money by picking 3 guys that you think are going to go off. And it's called the Ladders Contest. All right, so I'm grabbing Calvin Austin with my final pick here. Gives me a pretty good team. I feel pretty good about this team. Didn't quite get the value stack that I wanted to show you guys, but I feel like I got some decent stacks anyways. We ended up with Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, and Aaron Rodgers as my quarterbacks. Running backs, I got Chase Brown, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, Will Shipley, and Blake Corum. And for my wide receivers, I got Puka Nacua, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk, Jalen McMillan, and Calvin Austin. I really like having the San Francisco stacks, knowing that they have the #1 strength schedule. Christian McCaffrey might be a hindrance to the passing game this year, but I do think that, the receivers will still eat. And, watch San Francisco have a comeback year this season. A lot of injuries derailed them last year, but I think that they should be back in business this year. And then David Njoku and Tyler Warren as my tight ends. So thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure to sign up for Underdog and make sure to like the video. That helps me out a lot. And I will see you guys next time. Keep an eye on those shorts for some NBA betting recommendations. All right, guys.